What is up? Episode 38 of the Austin Stand-Up Comedy Podcast. One thing I've noticed about myself as I get older is I try to be more of a doer and less of a sayer. But there's another comedic gentleman who used to live here in Austin named Drew. I doubt you're listening, Drew, but this is devoted to you. That we will meet up virtually sometime this week to work on jokes, a script, sketches, make fun of each other, what have you. This is a bit of a PSA that if you're a comic, especially in Austin, when you say you're going to do something, be a doer, don't be a sayer. All right? Get out there and do. It's my motivational speech for the week. What is this? What the hell are you listening to? What did you click on? Why did you click on it? Probably because you saw your name or you saw somebody else's name that you recognized. But what this is a podcast about celebrating Austin stand-up comics. So I'd like to talk about a few comics today. I'd like to talk about Ben Smith. I'd like to talk about possibly my most maybe devastating doppelganger would be Robby Dean. And then I'd like to talk about Elizabeth Spears. So what I do on this podcast is I talk about stand-up comedians specifically from Austin or who perform almost exclusively in Austin, Texas. Talk about what I like about them, any first impressions, anything that I remember about them. And in the hopes of injecting some positivity into the Austin stand-up comedy scene while we all wait to get back out there and start telling jokes again. So let's get it kicked off. I have 3 more episodes of this specific style of podcast where I'm reviewing, talking about comics like this. And then I think I have some plans for the next round of this podcast. But for now, let's keep it simple. Huh? Keep it simple. Ben Smith. So, man, I'm trying to think of Ben's joke that I really like. Oh, I remember now. He's got a joke where he talks about a boss. I think his boss's name is Gary. And the joke is about his boss calling him out when he goes to the bathroom. I'll leave it at that because I feel like it's a staple of his act. Maybe it's not going to be by the time he gets out there. I haven't seen people do stand-up since March of 2020. So it's been a couple months. I would imagine a lot of the people that I've reviewed on here have been working on material and just waiting to get out there and roll it out to people. But yeah, that's my favorite joke of his. It's a really funny joke. I think he's closed with it before. I remember seeing it at, I think, Baker Street, and it did really well. I don't remember the first place I heard it. Probably Parlor. I hear everything in Parlor first. I don't really have too many experiences of talking with Ben. And by too many, I don't have any, I don't think. I maybe have looked at him. We maybe have looked in each other's direction at the same time at some point. But other than that, I don't really know him. So shout out to Ben. That's a good joke. Hope you're doing well, man. Robby Dean, my formidable adversary. I don't even think I've met Robby Dean, but I've seen him a lot. And I know that he kind of fits the prototype of an Austin guy, which I know and can say because I, too, fit the prototype of a typical Austin dude. Somewhere around 6 feet tall, brown hair, glasses, maybe a beard, maybe not a beard. Relatively stylish dress, but also not nice enough to get into a club, right? You might be overdressed for a coffee shop, but we're not going to be attending any galas anytime soon on a whim without knowing beforehand that we need a suit, that we need to really properly dress for it. I truly believe that he was born the same day that I was, and we were separated at birth. And since then, uh, we've somehow crossed paths. Maybe us crossing paths earlier this year was what set the whole year off, caused an imbalance in the force of Earth. I could be wrong. I think Robby was one of the first people I followed ever that I could remember doing stand up. And I might have talked about this on a past podcast, but he has a joke that's really funny about that I think that he looks like his mom, maybe? That he looks like one of his parents. I'll leave it at that. But it's a really funny joke. And I know for a fact he closed with it at Kick Butt because I went up after him. And when I went up, my jokes that I was doing at the time were like little goofy jokes. Like, my dog got sick because he has a peanut butter allergy, and well, I messed that one up, but I did the wrong part first. But you can kind of figure where I was going with that joke. The punchline was I would never put peanut butter on my balls and have my dog lick it off. I would use almond butter because it's healthier. That was the punchline. Not a great joke, admittedly. I'll admit that. It was one of the first jokes I took on stage. But those are the goofy jokes that I have. So, and it's kind of gross, I guess, but the joke that Robby closed with was that joke that I was referring to. And when I went up and I said something like, oh yeah, it's nothing like having sex with your dad. And then I went into jokes about dogs and I learned an important lesson. It's crucial to know what kind of energy and what kind of set you're going to have based on your material. I'm not a shock comic by any means, but if I go up and comment on a comedian before me on one of their jokes or anything that they've said, it's going to come off potentially shocking because, and then it's going to throw people off for the rest of the set. That is, if it's about dogs or something innocuous and childish. So, any aspiring comics listening, there you go. That's some advice from somebody who's bombed many a times. And I don't think my bombs are behind me. So, shout out to you, Robby. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to Ben. Let's talk about Elizabeth Spears. So, Elizabeth, I've seen... When did I see Elizabeth? I've seen her at Cap City. I think that was one of the first times I saw her. She's like, man, like uncompromisingly funny, if that's a word. Like, I know that like she can make jokes and the audience is laughing hysterically and her energy doesn't change. And it's such a cool... It's like when somebody kicks somebody in the head during a match and then just walks away like, yeah, that was supposed to happen. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, she's really funny. My favorite joke of hers is the joke about... Let me think about it. Oh, the blind date joke. It's a joke about a date. I don't want to go too much into it because it's going to give a little bit of the premise away. But it's such a funny joke. The like, and then that's kind of the cadence of the punchline. But it's a really good joke. She's got some other good ones too. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. But another person that I haven't really talked to. I'm seeing a theme now towards the end of these episodes where I kind of save the people that I didn't really talk to that much for the end. But yeah, shout out to you, Elizabeth. Hope you're doing well as well. I think that's the end of this episode. So thank you guys for listening. If you're a stand-up comedian, there's a good chance I've already talked about you. So check the YouTube page. It's searchable now. It was searchable before, but you could search your name in there and potentially find an episode where I talk about you. If you haven't heard about you, if I haven't talked about you yet, there's a good chance I'm going to talk about you at some point. So just hang in there. All right, you're coming. Also, I made a Instagram page for the Austin It's under Austin Stand Up Comedy. So if you're listening to this but don't follow the Instagram page, go check it out. Austin Stand Up Comedy. There's 5 posts on there. All of them are fire posts. I did post one picture of a fire. Stay safe, stay healthy. Stand-up comedy is coming back. In the meantime,